All right, guys, we have some very banger G2 news for you here today. I threw on the G2 Army sweatshirt because we're going to be talking about this team. Even though their season just ended yesterday, they were just eliminated from World's contention in that back and forth, very, very banger 3-game match where all of Europe and all really the West hope was riding on G2. Their season ended yesterday, and now their offseason is already getting started, already kicking off. We're going to be talking about a couple very big moves being reported by Alejandro Gomis today, and this is kind of really in a lot of ways the first big banger news of the LEC offseason, coming from obviously the main LEC team. I just want to mention real quick, of course, as always, our offseason coverage is powered by Holy. Make sure you guys go check out that first link in the description below. Use discount code SE5 to get a nice little discount on great tasting energy drinks that just so happen to be healthier than the competition as well. A lot of great, awesome, fun flavors. This is alligator apple. The packaging's really cool. The branding's awesome. I got some for myself. You guys should get some for yourselves as well. So let's get right into the news now. What is going on today? We have news that 2 members of G2 Esports have been reportedly allowed to explore options for the 2025 season. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of speculation. There's been a lot of people throwing around, different blame and different criticism for which players should be kicked, which players should share the blame for why G2 has not been good enough, why they haven't been getting things done. This is now multiple years in a row where G2 has not made it out of the Swiss stage, has not made it into the quarterfinals. And obviously, G2 isn't a team that expects to make it to the quarterfinals. They're a team that has literally won an international title before. They're a team that expects to be competing for international championships. And you can say, G2 had an unlucky Swiss draw and things like that this year or whatever, but at the end of the day, G2 was not truly in contention for a World's title this year. Maybe they could have made it to quarterfinals and lost. Maybe they could have even made it to semifinals. It was very, very possible depending on their draws and how all that goes. But if you're a team that's relying on good draws or a team that, it matters who you play against to be able to advance, yeah, there is some scenarios. Obviously, if G2 had FlyQuest draw, G2 would be in quarterfinals right now. I don't think anyone would argue that. But still, they were not in serious contention for a World Championship this year. That's not going to be good enough. The news we have today is that the 2 players that have been allowed to explore options for the 2024 season are Yike and Mickey, both allegedly being reported by Alejandro Gomis. He told me this. They are allowed to explore options for the 2025 season. Again, that doesn't mean that they are necessarily benched just yet. Obviously, G2 is going to be exploring options as well, and these players are still under contract. We can look at the global contract database for the LEC and see that Yike has a contract expiring in 2025, and that Mickey X has a contract expiring in 2025 as well. So obviously, if G2 is not able to find replacements for these players, if that would be the case, which I don't think that'll be the case. Obviously, G2 seems like a very, very attractive landing spot. Seems like pretty much if G2 gives you the call and they want you to come play for them, you're probably going to do it, depending on how they can work out buyouts and deals and all that stuff. But that is reportedly the news. Again, if G2 wouldn't be able to find replacements for one of either of these players, obviously they could bring them back for next year. But also the other very, very interesting and very, very banger part of this whole thing is, again, these players are still under contract, but Alejandro has told me that G2 is reportedly having no buyout for either one of these players. So that is also very, very exciting. So many times we hate to see players get kind of like contract blocked or, sat on the bench for no reason. Every once in a while, a player's got to go to Team McDonald's. That's just how it goes. There's not always a spot for you, but sometimes in the past it has happened because they can't agree on a buyout number. They can't agree on the amount of money that's going to exchange plays for them. But for whatever reason, I am hearing that Yike and Mickey will be allowed to explore their options with no buyout in their contract. So that is very, very awesome. It should help these 2 players both advance to their next teams in the LEC. And at the end of the day, we want to see the best players in the LEC. And even G2, you could argue, hey, G2 doesn't want these guys to be on other teams because there's going to be competition for G2. But guess what? That doesn't really even make sense because G2 wants to be the best version of themselves. And what we're finding out is that when G2 is the dominant LEC team and there's no competition, there's no other teams or players that can compete with them, that is not good for G2 because then by the time they get to these international events, all these other teams are at a whole nother level that G2 hasn't been used to competing at the whole season. It is truly in G2's best interest to be the best team in a very, very great LEC. G2 really and truly, in my opinion, should want all of the best players in the LEC as possible because they want to have the best possible practice, the best possible scrims, the best possible stage matches. Maybe G2's understanding that, I'm not sure. But again, this is very, very interesting. And where Mickey and Yike are going to end up is going to be huge, but also who the replacements are going to be is going to be huge as well. Now, we do not have anything else to report as far as potential options for G2 or where these players are going to go yet at this time because this is very, very fresh. This is very, very breaking news. Again, G2's offseason just started. They just got eliminated yesterday. Today is that first day where they decided that this is the direction they want to go, and now they're going to start making phone calls. They're going to start making deals. They're going to start talking to people, and once that happens, we will definitely report on that. We will definitely have that news for you guys on Sheep Esports, on this YouTube channel, all of that stuff. But yeah, this is obviously very, very crazy, and where these guys are going to go is going to end up being a huge deal, because according to our Sheep Esports rankings, for the whole year of 2024, Yike was the #1 jungler in the LEC. Now, of course, you always have to take stats with a grain of salt, because the best teams are going to have the best stats. League is a team game. League is a snowbally game. If your team is doing well, you are, much more likely to do well. But what we do have for the whole 2024 year is that Yike was the #1 jungler in G2, or the #1 jungler in the LEC, and the #6 player in the LEC overall. He had some very, very good stats. He had the best KDA, he had the best CS per minute. He didn't have amazing kill participation percentage or vision score, but gold per minute, damage per minute, damage per gold was all very, very good. Yike had, insane win rates, insane KDAs on so many different junglers. He had definitely a big champion pool. But again, there have definitely been criticisms for him. For MSI, for Worlds, whether he is the answer for G2 in the long run. Again, just because you're a very good player does not always mean you're a great player or the best possible player. In G2, they've won the LEC a million times. I'm sure they don't even feel anything or care when they win the LEC anymore. Their only goal at this point is to win MSI, to win Worlds, and to make it as far as possible and at least look competitive. And again, the G2, that's not exactly what they did this year. Yes, they had a very bad draw. It was a very tough road, but they didn't win when the games mattered most, and some of their games were honestly not all that competitive either. Again, for Mickey, same type of deal. Our Sheep Esports rankings have Mickey as the #1 support in the entire LEC for 2024, and honestly the #1 player in the LEC overall, which is pretty crazy. Mickey is definitely a very, very good player. Now, again, there was some Mickey inting moments at Worlds or at different times throughout the season. There's definitely some questions about his champion pool and stuff as well. Or at least being able to play those champions at the highest level. Again, not champion pool issues as far as being able to play a bunch of different stuff. He can obviously play a bunch of different champions, but can he play all these champions at a world-class level? Can he always show up when things are most consistent? That's obviously a question. But yeah, he had the highest vision score in the LEC, highest gold per minute, very good damage per gold, very good damage per minute. He did die a lot. He had bad KP. He had there's definitely some things there. But obviously the thing here being that Mickey and Yike are both very impressive players, very, very good players, have very bright futures ahead of them. And wherever they land on in the LEC, that team is probably going to get better, and it's going to be very interesting to watch. It's going to be huge news. And then who is G2 going to get for their jungle support? I have no idea, but that's definitely something I want to hear from you guys. What you guys think G2's new supporter jungler should be? I can't wait. It's going to be very interesting. As far as things that we've seen from this, Mickey tweeted out, "What a shit way to end the year," following their elimination from Worlds. Yike said heartbreaking, and now obviously these two players are going to have to start sooner rather than later, even though their hearts are still broken, even though they're still very, very sad and beaten down after that World's performance. I'm sure they're going to start looking ahead to next year and start figuring their things out, because as we know, the offseason moves very, very quick. We've already seen, I think I have it pulled up here, according to our transfer hub, that a lot of deals in the LEC are already getting done. A lot of rosters are already getting locked. So many of these spots are filling up. So obviously Yike and Mickey are going to need to find a spot next, but luckily for them, they are great players. So teams will I assume, this is coming from me, speculation, be making some room for them. When you hear Yike's on the market, when you hear Mickey's on the market, maybe you have a spot open for your team that you didn't necessarily expect that you would. Also, this was very, very interesting. We had this from our Sheep Esports interview with Mickey, where they asked him, "You'll need time to process everything, but you'll soon have to move on and think about 2025. What do you foresee for the future in G2's future?" He said, "I have no clue about next year. I'd be surprised if everything stays the same, since we failed to qualify for the quarterfinals and out of Swiss 2 years in a row, which is quite a disappointment. Yeah, I'd be surprised if we just run it back right, but maybe the third time's the charm." And it's not looking like that. It does look like G2 will be making some changes in 2025. Again, it's even been foreshadowed a little bit by Mickey X himself. We'll have to wait and see what happens next. Of course, as I said previously, all of our offseason coverage is powered by Holy. Make sure you guys go check out that first link in the description below. Use that discount code SE5 to help support our channel and our content and all of our offseason coverage. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. Until then, peace.